What's going on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, I've done this type of video before, and I'll probably do it again at some stage throughout my life. Today, I want to make an early thoughts and opinions video on how the Bulls looked in their first game against the Brooklyn Nets, and the things that I like and some things that I didn't like as well. So at the end of the day, it's basically going to be an extension of the game reaction, bringing it back into this video as well, but hopefully a little bit more in detail, because in that Brooklyn Nets game reaction, I focused a lot on not taking things, I guess, too seriously. Not, I guess, fully committing to this team in many ways and saying this team is the next best thing, when in reality it's only one game. Again, be more realistic. Well, now I'm going to take the realism out of that and say the things that I really enjoyed about this team in that first game, and some of the things that I think, again, that might be controversial heading into the next couple of games as well. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls, and again, how good do you think this team can be heading into the end of the season. With Patrick Beverly in there, obviously the energy of this team seems to be renewed a little bit. There is a lot to get through in that retrospect. Again, can we save our season? Can we go above 500? Are these the things that you're looking at, or are you seriously just looking at, look, one game at a time? You can never predict what this Bulls team can bring on any given night. Patrick Beverly is a good player, but might not be able to save our season like the way that we hope he can, and everything in between. So, first, let's start off with what I liked about Patrick Beverly. One, obviously, it was a very bold decision to start him as soon as he came into this team. It's a very big decision by Billy Donovan, and again, it looked to be the right one in that game against Brooklyn. We won by a significantly large amount. He played 22 minutes. He did solid stuff defensively, and even offensively, he had a very strong factor in the game with 8 points and 4 assists. So he did his thing out there, ladies and gentlemen. And the things that I liked about Patrick Beverly very early: willing passer. That's one thing. He didn't make it all about him in his debut, which I never expected, to be honest, but it wasn't all about him. He wasn't trying to take over the game. He wasn't trying to score 20 points. He wasn't trying to be, in my opinion, the guy on this team in his debut. He deferred a lot to Zach. He deferred a lot to DeMar. He made sure the big three were the guys that were going to get a lot of their offense, and the big three, therefore, had good games from that. Defensively as well, it worked very well. Patrick Beverly had a very good debut for the Chicago Bulls, and if that's the level that we're going to see every single game, then I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy what Patrick Beverly can bring to the Bulls, and he will become a fan favorite if he hasn't been a fan favorite already since he's come here. I've seen constant shirts at the United Center of "I love Patrick Beverly" already in his first game. So I think Bulls fans know what's up in terms of Patrick Beverly, and hopefully he can keep it up and make more people fall in love with his style of play, because that will obviously help him, I guess, in the future if he wants to remain a Chicago Bull. If he keeps on playing like this, I don't see a reason why we couldn't bring Patrick Beverly back into this team, but we'll have to wait and see, of course. Billy Donovan, let's talk about him really quick. He made a very big adjustment, not just in Patrick Beverly, but with Alex Caruso. He benched two of our youngest players in Ayo Dosunmu and Patrick Williams, and he brought on more experienced players in the starting five with Alex Caruso and Patrick Beverly. I want to quickly talk about what I like and what I don't like about that move. What I like about the move is I think it makes sense for most games in the NBA. You got two of your best defenders in the starting lineup with three of your best offensive players. You're trying to balance this out as much as possible. You got Alex Caruso over there, again, willing to switch on everything, very, very aggressive defensively, always up in your grill, trying to make you very uncomfortable. You got Patrick Beverly with his mentality, his pit bull-like defense, very physical, very talkative. Obviously, he can read out, I guess, very solid. He can read out offensive plays, and again, he can very much be very impactful in that way. And you got guys like Zach, Vooch, and DeMar who need to be better offensively in general. And we saw it in this game. Yes, none of them, only Zach LaVine dropped 30, but all of them had pretty solid offensive games, and that was very, very crucial. And again, it just makes sense in that way. So I give credit to Billy Donovan for doing that in the very first game, being bold and brave and making a tough decision that people might have not even agreed with coming into the game. But most people would agree with it coming out of the game, knowing the result and what ended up happening in that game. So very, very good stuff. Again, Patrick Williams and Ayo also had some of the best games of their season because the pressure is not on them and they are able to be a little bit aggressive off of the bench and things like that. So it worked out for them and it worked out for our starting starting 5. So there's positives there for sure. And Billy Donovan created those positives. So I give him respect for that. What I don't like about this, there's 2 things I don't like about this. One, there are certain players' development that might take a hit because of this. Again, as much as it helps Patrick Williams being on the bench, as much as it helps Ayo being on the bench, you're taking minutes away from some guys that I think really needs it in Dale and Terry. Because again, I thought he could come off the bench as a forward in Dale and Terry because you were going to start Patrick Williams. But putting Alex Caruso as basically the power forward of this team, or Patrick Beverly, whatever the case may be, Dale and Terry's minutes will get stinted in that way because you've made a completely different change that will affect his minutes. Derrick Jones is the same. Goran Dragic is the same. So you're making a big change and you're hoping it works out, but other guys will have to take the hit because of that change. That's a negative. And 2, in most NBA games, I can see our starting 5 working extremely well. The balance of it, in my opinion, looks to be a big positive so far. But if we verse, for example, a Memphis Grizzlies team, a completely healthy Memphis Grizzlies team, or we verse a Cleveland Cavaliers team, and we're versing these teams that have bigger bodies there, well, then you're playing 4 guards as the guys that you're trying to compete with over bigger bodies. So Milwaukee is another example with Giannis and Brook Lopez and things like that. So it's still, in my opinion, doesn't solve a major problem with our team, and that is we need a power forward and we need a bigger size power forward. I'm not saying we need, I guess, a 7-foot power forward. We don't need someone like that, but someone that could be, 6'9", 6'10", like what Patrick Williams was in many ways. He was our bigger body. So I think in some games you will see that the undersized Chicago Bulls, it will hurt us. And again, it's gone down to small ball again in many ways. Small ball is good. And again, with Vucevic, I think it really is good because you still have a bigger body there in the paint. But throughout the whole course of the game with 4 guards in there, I think in some games we will struggle because of that. And when you've got tall, athletic wings that are very, very, I guess, movable, switchable, I think that will cause us big problems. Again, let's think of a team that has very tall, athletic wings. There are a bunch of teams, I'm sure. Again, maybe Brooklyn should have been one of those teams, but I just think, again, they didn't have a great game. But I think you know what I mean. Just really tall, athletic players that can switch on defense at any given time. Those teams will cause us problems with a small ball lineup, with a guard-centric lineup. So again, very, very interesting stuff there. But so far, so good. No complaints. Let's wait and see what we do against the Wizards and so on and so forth. Big decisions that had to be made there. So again, you got to take your sacrifices. Not every team is perfect. You got to accept your weaknesses to improve your strengths. And I think that's what we're trying to do with this lineup. We also saw, in many ways, a different style of play, and that is, I guess, for our bench, it's a lot younger. I mentioned it in the Brooklyn Nets game reaction. Our bench now consists of what we saw constantly play was Ayo Dosunmu, Kobe White, Patrick Williams, Andre Drummond, and then you probably have one of the starters in there every now and then, a Zach or a DeMar or a Caruso, so Dale Terry at times. Again, Derrick Jones Jr. There's players there that you can list, but Ayo, extremely young, 2nd year in the NBA. Kobe, younger than Ayo, but he's in his 4th year in the NBA. Patrick Williams in his 3rd year in the NBA. Whoever you want to put as the power forward type player, whether it's, again, Caruso, Beverly, again, they're a little bit of the older guys, but still relatively young bench alongside Andre Drummond, who I believe is 28 or 29 years old. This bench should play extremely differently than what we've seen in the past. Now, I don't think the bench was always our biggest problem. I thought for the most part our bench has been okay. It's always been the core that I've had big problems with because, in my opinion, they're the ones that you put a lot of the brunt on if they're not scoring or if they're not playing well, and we fall to big leads because they're not playing defense and things like that. The core's always been the biggest problem for me, not the bench. But now that the bench has changed, it's a lot younger. So transition points, in my opinion, there's no excuses. One of the best things I saw in that game against Brooklyn, and although it didn't necessarily come out to be massively effective, we saw about 4 steals in a row in the 2nd quarter with our bench. You saw Patrick Williams miss a dunk because of it, but a transition opportunity nonetheless. Ayo miss an open layup because of it. And again, a good transition play nonetheless. And Andre Drummond got his own steal and he ran out in transition. He got an open dunk. These things should be more of a reoccurrence now, because you have young players willing to deflect the ball, willing to go and play solid defense and hit out in transition. With some of our with guys like Goran Dragic, for example, and you have a little bit of some older guys in there. Maybe you put DeMar off of the bench sometimes. Sometimes it didn't always work. Now I expect it to work, because these are the guys that make it work. When you switch up the starting lineup and the bench, every now and then you don't have the same, I guess, link-ups, or you don't have the same chemistry-wise, because DeMar wants to play slower, but Ayo wants to play fast. With Kobe, Ayo, and Patrick Williams all playing together with Andre Drummond, they need to go. They need to run, because I don't think they're going to get half-court set offense like that. So their best options is to go and attack and go out and transition. So I saw a little bit of that against Brooklyn, and I really enjoyed what I saw there as well. So again, there are so much things we could talk about in this retrospect. I guess the last thing that I want to say is that, again, don't overreact to this performance against Brooklyn. I thought our big three really played well in this game as well. And again, I'm not overreacting to it, because we've seen it already. Look, it's the same song and dance, isn't it? They play well some games, they disappoint in other games. And yes, they didn't play a whole fourth quarter, but all three of them, in my opinion, played a big part in how we won this game. Alongside of all of our other guys as well. It's a very good team effort. But in the next game, I'm very intrigued to see how the big three plays. DeMar DeRozan, Zach, Vooch. Look, when you pair them up with two defenders, the pressure is not always on them now to play that amazing defense, because you've got two guys that will guard their best players. For example, against the Wizards, you'll probably see someone, if Bradley Beal is playing, I'm assuming he will be playing. I haven't checked their injury record at this point in time. But there's going to be a couple of guys focusing on Bradley Beal in that game. That's their best scorer. You got a couple of guys on their guards. I think some of their weaknesses is the point guard position. So, again, their wings and their full-on best offensive players, Zach won't have to guard one of them. DeMar won't have to guard one of them. It will be Patrick Beverly. It will be Alex Caruso. That takes the pressure off of them and allows them to play better team defense instead of one-on-one defense. Because with Zach LaVine, I think his best is one-on-one defense. I think he sucks team defensively. And DeMar DeRozan, I think it's vice versa. I think he plays okay team defense, but he sucks one-on-one defensively, and Vucevic is just not a rim protector. But when you get, again, I've said this before, I hope it makes sense when I say it. When you had Lonzo Ball in the team and Alex Caruso in the team, and they were the guys guarding the point guards and guarding the guys with the ball in their hands, it helps the defense in the paint as well, because they're the ones that are initiating the offense. If you make them, I guess, put under pressure and they can't necessarily do what they want to do, then it affects the perimeter for sure. We should have much better, much improved perimeter defense, but the pick and rolls will be very, very difficult for them to do as well. I think we saw it a little bit again in the Brooklyn game. I thought our paint defense was solid. Vucevic with 2 blocks, but Patrick Beverly chasing after the offensive player. Same with Alex Caruso. It makes it harder for them to attack the paint as well. So I'm hoping our defense continues to improve in that retrospect. I never thought our defense was bad. It is a little bit inconsistent, but for the most part, we've been top 10 defense in the NBA. But adding a little bit more defense in there, it could help us, and it could definitely help us offensively as well. So I'm excited to see how the big three plays, and that's really all I want to talk about in this video. Hopefully you guys agree. If you don't agree with some of the things I've said, let me know in the comments below, and I'll end the video here. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next Chicago Bulls video. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.